Om Bharat Bharatat Savituvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat.
Om Soham Tattvamasi. Om, we are all one in the one universal God. Om Jai Bhagavanji, victory to that beloved universal I am that I am, which you are.
Jai Bhagavan.
Today is the 25th day of Charity, 56 AF. Today is Fulfillment Day. What does this mean, Fulfillment Day? Well, after I returned to this world, after giving up perfect final union with God the second time, after making my supreme self-sacrifice, and making my vow of compassion that I would never again enter into perfect final union with God until I had seen every last soul home into perfect final union with Him before me. And after winning God's new covenant promise that whoever would follow me, whoever would receive my holy initiation and follow me to the end of this life, that God would give that soul what I have given up for all time, which is perfect final union with Him. Perfect final union with Him. Perfect final union with God is as far above heaven, or farther above heaven, incalculably farther above heaven, than heaven is above hell. There's nothing higher than perfect final union with God, because there is nothing higher than God. This is not being near to God. This is entering into God as a drop of water falling into the sea becomes the sea. And when you do that, yes, you lose this small, insignificant, personal self. But you gain the universal self of being totally one with God. And to that extent, being God. Not you becoming God, but you losing yourself and becoming God, the way the drop of water loses itself and becomes the ocean when it falls into the ocean. And so I came back. Did I feel worthy of being the Maitreya, the Kalki Mahavatara Satguru of the age? No, I did not. Do I feel worthy of that today? No, I do not. I believe, without doubt or reservation, that any man or woman who felt worthy of that great honor would never have it. But God does what God does, and man must do God's will, or fight against it. And when I first returned here, I fought against it. I said, yes, when I was there, this was real, but now that I'm here, this is real again. I can't be worthy of this. And so God put me through a kind of a boot camp for about 1 year. Set me tasks to perform, things to do, gave me certain guidances, revelations, insights. And for about a year I did that. And then, on the 24th night of Charity, that came to fulfillment. And so we celebrate the 25th of charity as fulfillment day. And that was the fulfillment of my purification in this world, my edification in this world. But fulfillment day means a lot more than that. It means that we have a chance to fulfill humanity's dream, humanity's quest. And what is that quest? That quest is to attain or to regain perfect final union with God. Because all of the things that we suffer, all of the agonies that we suffer, come from one source and one source alone. And that is that we are separated in our consciousness, separated in our hearts, and separated even our very souls by this darkness, by this ignorance of our true oneness with God. It's really kind of boilerplate. It's really kind of simple. If God is everything, as we know God is, and as all religions that are true religions acknowledge, how can God not be this? How can God not be you? And how can you not be God? And so, even intellectually, we know that if there's anything outside of God, whether it's you, or whether it's you, or whether it's you, or whether it's me, then God can't be God. How can anything exist outside of the one who is all? And yet here and here we forget. Because of desire, because of attachment, and ultimately because of identification with the things of this world, we lose this. And so we ride this endless wheel of birth, life, sickness, sorrow, fear, pain, old age, suffering, death, and rebirth again and again and again and again and again, forever. Yes, some people do escape in every age. But now everyone can escape. Because the only escape from riding this wheel of birth, death, and rebirth is perfect final union with God. Heaven is a wonderful place. Hell is a terrible place. But neither one are permanent. The only thing that is permanent beyond this creation is perfect final union with God. And as Maitreyans, that is what you have. You have God's new covenant and God's promise that if you will follow me to the end of this life, follow me home to Him to the end of this life, then you will receive what I've sacrificed for your sake, which is perfect final union with God. Am I worthy of that honor as a man, as a personality? No, I am not. Not in my heart. God may say that I am, and God does say that I am, or I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have been doing this for 30-some years. But in my heart, as a man, as a personality, of course I don't think that I'm worthy of it. And so from time to time I still have to speak in terms of getting guidance from God. I still have to speak in terms of getting revelations from God. But at the moment that the clock rolled over from 12 to whatever it was, 12:10 or something like that, on the 25th day of charity, those many years ago, God said, your words will be my words. Now, He didn't mean that if I get upset on the freeway and say, get off the road to a driver, that that's His words. He meant when I'm teaching you, when I'm guiding you, when I'm imparting His eternal, universal religion, then that is when my words are His words. And so that was the fulfillment of this year of purification. Your fulfillment comes in fulfilling God's new covenant and promise. Fulfilling it both in your own life and fulfilling it by giving God's promise to others and helping others to get home to God. The fulfillment of your promise, the fulfillment of God's promise, comes by giving it to others. The more you give it to others, the more you have it for yourself. The less you give it to others, the less you have it for yourself. But you may not use force, threat, coercion, intimidation, bribery, or deception to give it to any other person, just as it wasn't given to you through force, threat, coercion, intimidation, bribery, or deception. Free will is one of the highest qualities of the soul. And those who become Maitreyans, those who come and accept me as Maitreya, the friend of all souls, and become a Maitreyan, must do so purely by their own free will. Purely by their own free will. Otherwise, nothing happens.
Yeah.
And so here we are on this fulfillment day. I want you to know that you have a task ahead of you, and that is to fulfill my holy initiation that I've given you, and to fulfill God's new covenant and promise, which was instilled in you as a soul, as a spirit, as a very divine being, at the moment that you attained consecration.
Yeah.
Fulfill it. Liberation is in your hands. Total freedom, absolute freedom is in your hands. Salvation from the endless rounds of birth, life, death, and rebirth, and all of the suffering and sorrow that is attendant upon it, is in your hands. I can put it in your hands, but you must fulfill it. By the 3 vows that you make at the time of your holy consecration, that I will preserve God's eternal universal religion just as God gives it to me through the friend. I will practice God's eternal universal religion exactly as God gives it to me through the friend. I will propagate God's eternal universal religion exactly as God gives it to me through Maitreya, the friend. This do. This do. And don't get caught up in the letter of it. The letter is important. But the letter without the spirit destroys the soul. The letter with the spirit lifts up the soul. But you must catch the spirit. And where will you catch that spirit? You must catch that spirit from me. You must catch that spirit from Maitreya, the friend of all souls. These things are hard for me to say. I want to say go directly to God, but God put me here for those who can't go directly to Him, those who can't quite reach Him, those who can't quite grasp Him. For that reason, He sends His mercies, His prophets, His saints, His Buddhas, His saviors, and His avatars to you, to all humanity. I am not a Messiah. I am not Jesus. I am not a prophet. I am not Muhammad. I'm not even a saint or a Buddha. I'm a new creature that God created out of whole cloth because man has somehow, in our genius, found a way to destroy all human life. And so God created me out of an ordinary boy and sent me forth to you as Maitreya, Adhyatma Bhagavan Sri Babajan Alkalol, the friend, the Kalki Mahavatar of the age. I don't violate any other religious precepts that were given by God. I affirm them. The Muslims say that Muhammad was the seal of the prophets. May Allah have peace upon him. I am not a prophet. The Christians say that Jesus was the Messiah. I am not a Messiah, nor am I a Buddha. I am the Kalki Mahavatara Satguru, the bringer of the age of universal God's pure divine truth. I am here not to destroy any religion, but to renew the divine spirit of the one universal God within all religions. You must help me in that. You must spread my holy initiation and God's new covenant and promise throughout this earth to all the people of this earth. We accept all of God's prophets, saints, Buddhas, saviors, avatars of all times. Can you be a Buddhist and be a Maitreyan? Yes. Can you be a Muslim and be a Maitreyan? Yes. Can you be a Christian and be a Maitreyan? Yes. Can you be Jewish and be a Maitreyan? Yes. Because we accept all of God's prophets, saints, Buddhas, saviors, and avatars alike without question. But we are not bound by God or by man to accept what has been written about them or said about them, or indeed what they have written. We accept them in spirit, as God sent them forth in spirit. This is our fulfillment day. Go out into the world, fulfill God's promise, create divine critical mass, and so that God will spread his new covenant and promise into the hearts and very souls of every being, so that all will have true salvation and liberation, so that all will have an open door to enter into perfect final union with him at the end of their lives. Om Soham Tatvamasi. Om, I am that, thou art that. Om Jai Bhagavanji, victory to that beloved universal I am that I am, which you are.
Jai Bhagavan.
Om Bharat Bharatat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Asato